Hello, my beautiful angels. Welcome back to another episode of It Takes Intention. Welcome if you're watching on YouTube, and welcome if you're listening on Spotify. Guys, today I'm excited because we are going back to basics. I am going to be doing an episode that is really basically a deep dive into my mind, because I feel like recently my podcast episodes have been a lot more education style. It's been a lot more I guess kind of education, especially around the business, around mindset, all of that. But today I want to keep it really raw, really real, really just like I'm taking the top of my brain off and you're just having a look of what's going on within me. Because that sounded so weird. Because I know this is going to help someone. I really, this ties into today's theme of the episode so well. I am really going back to basics, and I think this is something that everyone needs to be doing at the moment, from what I've seen online, from what I'm seeing within my clients, what I'm seeing within me. It's going back to basics because, and sorry, just the reason why I just said that was because with the podcast, this is the style of podcast that I started out with. This is the style of podcast that I absolutely love and I miss a lot, because I think I've stopped myself from recording these more like mind dump type of episodes, because I'm like, oh, I need to give them more value. I need to give them more like, tips and tricks and all the different things, where it's like, these are my favorite type of episodes, and I know these ones are actually the ones that get received the most as well, like received well the most, if that makes sense. And usually I would always record them straight after like a morning walk I'd been on, and I had like a really good burning download that I just needed to share. And I stopped myself a lot from doing that, because now that I'm like wanting to record them on like camera, I'm like, oh, I need to get ready, I need to sit down, I need to do all of that. And I'm wanting to just get back into the flow of just kind of recording these more rare, I guess they are rare, real conversational type of podcast episodes as well, because I think it's so important, to share the behind the scenes of what it is actually like being someone who is, working on her business, working on growing herself, her faith, her spirituality, her health, her fitness, all of that, and really show the real stuff as well as obviously, all of the good things. And I think I have fallen into a trap a lot, to be honest, over the past year. And again, this is tying into today's episode, where I feel like I've started to share a lot more of the highlights and leave out some of the, I guess, lowlights, not intentionally, but just because I've been focusing a lot more on how I can really inspire and motivate. And I really thought about it the other day, because I actually listened to someone that I really look up to. I was listening to one of his podcasts, and he was really talking about how he was struggling with this one specific area. And I just remembered how good it feels to see, people who you do look up to go through the things that you're going through, because you feel less alone. You feel like there is someone out there that is actually experiencing, what you're experiencing, and here's how they can lead and guide you. And that's why I started this podcast why I started this podcast. It's why I post on YouTube, on social media. It's why I started my business. At the core of it, it is to literally help people become the best versions of themselves. That's why I've done everything that I've done. That's been the core value and the core driver behind everything I do, regardless of, helping people with social media and like business and all the different things. It's like, I always start with the self. I always start with helping people just become the best them. And, I personally, again, an insight into my mind, I've personally found that this year, I actually lost my spark. I really lost my spark. Guys, there was a moment where I hit this year where 2025 has been extremely unexpected, very unexpected. I went into it, as always, with the intention of like absolutely slaying the year, and I did. I started off so well, and I started off like in extreme alignment. I was just like going for it, and that's what happens when, your thoughts, beliefs, and actions are aligned, is you go for it. You actually feel like there is rocket fuel within you, and you're just like, nothing is going to stop me. I am going for for it. And I was doing that for a while, and to be honest, like I have, there's been days where I am like that, and then there's also been days where I feel like, from a deeper point of view, things have been shifting in my life, and things have been shifting in my business, and things have been shifting, basically in my journey of life. And I think I haven't given it the time of day to really come through and shift in the way that I think it's supposed to, and I think the way that God wants it to shift. I have been, again, still trying to kind of control the outcome, and it's something that I'm really working on. There's been a lot. This year's been a lot. It has been a lot. And, just when I think that I'm through it, I'm out of the metamorphosis, and I'm into my best self and my dream life, it's like, boom, here's another one. And actually, I'm going to read something that I posted on my story the other day, because I think it's actually so relevant and just so important to remind ourselves of. Let me just pull it up. Okay. You think becoming your best self will feel powerful. It won't. It'll feel like dying. Growth isn't pretty. It's not smooth. It's a breakdown. It's the death of your old self on repeat. Just when you think you've gotten to where you want to be, you'll realize you have so much further to go. And that's tough. You'll feel lost. You'll question everything. Some days you'll win. Some days you'll lose. But that's the price of ambition. Transformation, expanding into your potential, is painful. You have to tear down the walls of comfort, break the chains of what holds you back, and bet on your own damn self. It's brutal, it's violent, but it's freaking glorious, and it's worth it, because on the other side of that death of the old you is who you could be. And I think it was a really important reminder to me to see that, because, I feel like, a lot has been shifting for me this year, and I like to explain it as, I feel like I've been a bubble. I've been a bubble, and there's been this like underlying pressure building up and up and up and up as time has gone on. And I think I mentioned it in, maybe it was like my last episode, or maybe the episode before, where I feel like I went through a lot, hit rock bottom, and then I came out the other side, like the metamorphosis. I thought that was it. I thought that was it over, and I thought that was the end of it, but it really wasn't. And I know I'm not really giving too much context, and I'm sorry, I feel like it's really annoying, but just know that I will one day, but I'm just not really ready to talk about exactly what has happened. Not that necessarily one specific thing has happened, it's just something that I've been really, really finding challenging in my life that has kind of taken over me a little bit, to be honest, this year, and really consumed me in the way that I really wish it hadn't. But again, we learn from our mistakes, we learn from what we're, experiencing and what it's trying to teach us. And I've always, I've been really proud of myself this year, because even though I have been faced with a lot of challenges, it's like I truly have always looked at it as, what is this teaching me? Why is this happening for me? What am I getting from this? And really trying to learn and grow and develop through it. And whilst I guess the tangible 3D results haven't been what it is that I'm actually wanting, or what I thought I want, it's the internal shifts that have been happening and the internal growth that has been occurring within me over this year that's really, really where I guess the magic is. And anyways, back to what I was saying about the bubble. I basically feel like there was this pressure bubble building up, and this is something that I've seen a lot within my clients recently, a lot within, people on social media. Just, I feel like there's something in the air at the moment where there's been this like pressure bubble building up and up and up and up, and all of a sudden it's burst, and we're all like, what the hell is going on? I feel so confused. I feel so lack of clarity. There's just, where am I going? What am I doing? What is the next step? And just feeling this overwhelming sense of like loneliness and just unsureness, and just knowing that it's all going to work out, and knowing that it's working out for us and for our good, but just like, what's the next step? Where do we go from here? And for me, I had that moment a while back, and I just was so confused, because there was something that I wanted to launch back at the start of this year. I think it was February that I was going to launch it, but I decided to not launch it in February because something didn't feel like 100, it just didn't feel like now was the right time. And I'm glad I didn't, because now that I am a couple months further from that, I can see that would not have been a good time for me in my life to have taken on this specific thing that I'm launching. And it's nothing to do with Globate. Well, it kind of does have something to do with Globate, but it's not really like, it's something separate to it. And anyways, I've been working on it behind the scenes, but it just hasn't felt like the right time to do it. And I don't mean that in a way of like, oh, it's just like putting it off. It's not from that energy. It's from like something I'll know when, I'm a very intuitive person. I'll know when it's like the time to act on that specific thing. But anyways, I just feel like there was a lot of confusion for me this year where I'm like, do I, zone in on this thing? Do I zone in on that? And I, am the biggest believer in support and actually getting support, because I've been in this place before where, a couple years ago when I had started my business and I was so lost. I was so lost. I didn't know what I was doing. I was throwing spaghetti at the wall. I was so confused. I was so just like, what is going on with my social media? There was no structure. There was no clarity. There was nothing of that. And I invested in the support. I got the support, and it was honestly the best thing I could have ever done for myself and for my business, was because I was able to get that clarity. I was able to just see exactly what it is that I needed to do, and I could move forward with less resistance and so much more ease, because my mind wasn't holding me back as well. And that's why I coach. That's why I do what I do, is to help women literally break free from those limitations that they've put on themselves, and actually step into the best version of themselves, and therefore become as a byproduct, create the business that they desire, create the life that they desire, the relationships they desire. And that is truly what I love doing at Globation. This is where, for me, I think I was just getting very confused on the direction that I wanted to take it, because obviously you guys know that I had been I was doing fitness and mindset coaching, and then I kind of transitioned into just doing mindset coaching, and then naturally from there the business coaching kind of came into it. And I feel like for me this year there's been so much subconscious, actually it's not subconscious, there's just been a lot of uncertainty on like where I wanted to take the business, what I wanted to be doing. And I just kind of, if I'm being honest, like I said, lost my spark this year. I lost my fire and I lost my drive for specific things, because I just wasn't in alignment. And this is honestly the power of alignment. When you are in alignment, nothing is holding you back. But when you aren't in alignment, you feel stuck, you feel confused. And for me, I invested in the support to obviously help me work through this. And it wasn't actually until, I think it was last week, where I finally figured out what the actual, I guess, root cause was to it. And for me, it wasn't like a limitation that I had mentally. It wasn't a self-sabotaging behavior that I was doing. It wasn't anything like that. It was actually the foundation on which I had built my faith. And for me, I am a huge believer in faith. It's been, something that I have really prioritized throughout my self-development journey. And it's been like, just when you trust God, when you have that faith and that trust, and you just know that everything is working out for you, and that there is a better plan, the peace and the safety and the joy that you get from that is like no other. And if you go listen back to a lot of my old podcast episodes, you'll hear the joy in my voice, and you'll hear the positivity and the just incredible vibes that I have been on in my life. And don't get me wrong, like I still definitely am in that energy, but there have been a lot more days, I feel, where I have let a lot of those negative thoughts, a lot of, doubt, a lot of fear, a lot of that kind of cloud who I actually am at my core. And, it wasn't until last week where I actually went to church. That was what kind of, did I go to church? I did go to church, but I think it was a couple days before that. And I actually just really looked at the foundations of what I was building. And I feel like I was getting caught up in a lot of the things that, how do I explain it? That weren't actually necessary, that didn't actually matter, that I thought mattered and I thought was where I should be putting my time and attention, but actually doesn't matter, actually isn't where I should have been, directing my attention. And it wasn't until I realized that with my faith that I was just not actually doing the foundation work. My foundation was shaky. My foundation was not solid, actually, with my faith, that I started looking at every other area of my life and realizing where my foundations have not actually been very strong in some areas. And for example, my health and fitness, I feel like and this kind of ties into a lot of what I've been dealing with this year. I've had a lot of health things, it's been a lot. And I think my foundations have slipped away. I've let my foundations kind of go from me, especially when it comes to like going to the gym consistently, eating healthy, doing all of that. I think a lot of that got clouded over by other things that I thought were more important, but actually at the end of the day, the foundations are the most important thing. And when I look back at, even for example, when I was living in New Zealand and why I was able to make so much progress in, let's say, 1 year, was because I had such solid foundations. I had very strong foundations. I was waking up at 4 a.m. every single day. I had a very specific morning routine. I had a very specific, routine for everything that I did. And I feel like that basic structure is what actually got me my results. And that's why, I always say that like a morning routine will be the key to, I always used to preach that like morning routine is key to success. And for a while there, I got a little bit like, obviously I've still been waking up early and everything, but I kind of got a little bit like, do I actually still believe that now? Do I definitely believe that? And now I'm like, oh no, I believe it. I believe it 100%, because truly these basics, foundations that I think a lot of people look past, and myself included, it's like, this is the key building blocks to where it is that you're wanting to go and what it is that you're wanting to do. And so I feel like, basically the bubble burst, and the lesson and the key takeaway that I took from it was going back to basics, getting back to basics. And this is something that, I really want to encourage you to look at in every area of your life. Where do you need to go back to basics? For example, this podcast, I want to go back to basics of like actually just sharing what I'm currently going through, because truly, like I said, my mission behind this podcast, behind my YouTube channel, behind all of my content, all of my social media handles, all of my business, everything is to help people become the best version of themselves, is to help them, experience more joy every day, more peace, and more just happiness and fulfillment. And that is, if you've been a long time listener or a long time follower, that is what I just preached on repeat, is fulfillment, and just feeling like every day you're living up to your potential, you're living up to your purpose, and you're doing what you're meant to be doing. And I think this whole world right now has lost the foundations. We've lost the basics of like actually going back to truly what matters. And what matters is feeling alive, feeling joy, feeling love, being able to pour into others, being able to just live in beautiful, overflowing positivity. It's like we've lost so much of that. And that could be also my own perception of what I've seen online, but I know that there is someone out there that needs this reminder to just go back to basics. And this is like whatever area of life it may be. Look at your foundations, look at where you're not actually building solid foundations, whether it be in your business, whether it be in your faith, whether it be in your relationships, whatever area, health, fitness, all of the things. Where are you not building solid foundations? Because I promise you, when you go back to the absolute basics, it's like just a weight gets lifted off your shoulders, because you're just like, oh, I feel solid. That's the purpose of a foundation, right? To make something feel solid. You feel solid, you feel good, you feel like, okay, now I can actually take those next steps. I can then grow. And it's like, if you're someone who is, let's say you're a business owner, right? And you are seeing all these people achieve all these different things, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing people hit 10K months. I'm seeing people increase their sales, get more followers. I'm seeing all of these different things. And it's like, instead of actually looking at that and being like, why do I not have that result? Actually ask yourself, okay, what foundations do I need to build to be able to achieve that, to be able to get to that? And so to be able to get to that stage, and I even, just another thing that I posted on social media last week, I think it was I posted a reel about comparison and about how lucky and how blessed we actually are to have people ahead of us, to have people who are actually doing better things. Because if people are ahead of us and if people are doing better than us, we actually have firstly inspiration and motivation to go do that as well, but we also have a roadmap. We have someone who we can actually ask and get guidance of like how they did it, how they got it through a specific thing, how they can support you going through the exact same thing. It's why I coach. It's why I believe so deeply in the power of coaching, is because you have people doing the things that you want to be doing. Learn from them, invest with them, actually pull up a seat at the table, because you're able to do that. You're able to literally put yourself in the room, put yourself at the table to be able to learn and have them actually help you build those solid foundations. Because that's literally what I do here at Glow by Tish Coaching. I'm going to help you build these solid foundations with your business, with your mindset, help you actually look at these basic things, build those up, and it's at every level. You have to build new foundations, you have to build new beliefs, you have to build new self, you have to build new habits, new routines, all of that. And I'm able to actually help you do it, because I know how scary, how lonely, how hard, just straight up hard it can be doing it on your own. I'm here to guide you and I'm here to support you. So that also just brings me on to say that I have opened up my one-to-one coaching spaces. So if you are wanting to work with me directly so that I can support you directly with your business, with your life, with your mindset, the link will be in the show notes to apply for that, as well as the links to all of my self-paced programs and my masterclasses on business and mindset. But yeah, I just really felt called to share with whoever needs to hear this to go back to basics. Go back to the foundations, lay the foundations, build from those solid foundations in every area of your life. I hope this is what you needed to hear today. If you are new here, I would absolutely love it if you could stick around, join the Glow by Tish family. Well, not the Glow by Tish, actually, the It Takes Intention family. And let me know if you enjoy these more just kind of conversational type episodes, just a look in my mind, not necessarily a structure to it, but just kind of having a chat, to be honest, a little bit of a yap. Give me a DM over on Instagram so that I know to keep creating them. Otherwise, yeah, I would also greatly appreciate it if you could please give this podcast a rating over on the homepage. It really helps push this podcast out to more beautiful souls, and it helps change the world one person at a time. Otherwise, yeah, I love you so much. Thank you for being here. You've got this. Go get back to basics. Go do an audit on your life. Go do an audit on your business, and let's get back to building those solid foundations.